Hey guys, what do you get when you buy the cheapest four-wheeler on Facebook Marketplace? Check this out. It's been a couple of weeks since we worked on this, and I'm not exactly sure where I left off with the video, but where we got to with removing the primary clutches, the threads that are normally engaged on the clutch puller are stripped out of the center of the clutch. Somebody either used the wrong clutch puller or didn't have it engaged fully or whatever. They've stripped the threads out of there. What we're going to try to do is disassemble the primary clutch and see how far we can get down, and hopefully we can rethread the inside with a larger size, and then we'll have to come up with some kind of custom clutch puller. First thing we need to do though is get the top cover off of this clutch. Generally, we've decided this primary clutch is garbage. However, we'd like to salvage as much of it as we can. You know, clutch weights and whatnot probably aren't in too bad a shape. There's a lot of good spare parts here. So we don't want to break anything if we can avoid doing so. We've made a little bit of progress here off camera, just because it took multiple hands to do it. And right now I've got the clutch puller that is supposed to work threaded in there, and it does sort of grab, but not real well. So I'm going to pull it back out, and we've got a little bit of engagement in here, but not enough to get this to pop. What we have done though is we've taken a large 3/4 inch tap, and we've tapped the outer end of the clutch. I don't know what you call this. Anyways, basically the bolt tube. And we've tapped it out with this with a 3/4. I don't remember how many threads per inch it is, but 3/4 inch. And we've got a big piece of steel here that we'll thread in and engage. We've got probably an inch, inch and a half, inch and a quarter, something like that, of threads cut in there. And what I'm going to do is take this back to my shop, and we're going to essentially make a clutch puller like this on the end of this larger rod, and we're going to end up using the 3/4 inch threads as the puller instead of those interior threads that are damaged. And hopefully we can get this thing to pop off of here. Here's our clutch puller. This thinner part is designed to go into the end of the crankshaft. I'm guessing that this shoulder here is designed to engage with the end of the crankshaft. From here up to here is just a space. Then we have a bunch of threads engage with the inside of the clutch and basically pop the clutch off of there as you tighten this in. And I would say probably 3/4 of those threads are missing. We're grabbing a little bit, but not real well. I think those threads are damaged inside that clutch. Then we have just this portion of the clutch puller to get it outside of the machine. What we need to do though is recreate this with a slightly different setup. Here we have just a chunk of, I'm not even sure what it is, some kind of hook. Had some nice heavy bolt. It's 3/4 inch thread by, I forget the number, but it's coarse 3/4 inch standard thread. What we've done is we threaded the outer portion of the clutch tube that would normally surround this smooth part. We've cut a 3/4 inch thread into it. So what we need to do is recreate this on this. Behind you guys is my metal lathe, a Grizzly G0602, and we'll use that to try and make this work. Let me get you guys turned around so you can see what's going on the lathe, and we'll see if we can make this happen. I gotta be completely honest, I am not an expert when it comes to lathe work. I'm sure we can make this work, but it's gonna take a little bit of thought on my part to get this to do what we want it to do. Use a 3-jaw chuck. A 4-jaw chuck would be more accurate, but it's far more difficult to set up. And in addition, this 3-jaw chuck is kind of stuck on this headstock. I do need to figure out how to get that off of there one of these days, because it would be nice to use all of the tools that I have. We've got our metal chucked up in the lathe, and all I'm planning on doing here is parting this off just so that we don't have this great big long hook that we have to deal with. I've shoved it into the lathe far enough that we're not clamped down on the threads, and since we're, you know, within an inch of the threads is what we're concerned with working with, this should work. I just checked the drive belt, and we're set up for VC2, which is 300 RPM. We'll back this off. We prime the e-stop. We're in forward. Key chuck is not installed, and turn this on and see what it does. Break it off rather than messing with it. At this point, I plan on necking this down and just sliding a nut on and welding it in place. So we'll have to deal with that when we get a little further into this. But for now, we have our threaded piece and a nicely cut off rod. Put in some chamfers on here just to make it so that the thread engages nice. There's not a sharp edge that's going to create a stress riser, and that we got a little bit of a rounded tip here to make good contact with the inside of the crankshaft. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Here's the original, and you can see things should work. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a step down on the end of this that I can slide a nut on. It doesn't need to be threaded, just needs to be small enough that the nut will fit on there, and then I'll put a couple of spot welds on it. There's the tool. I'm hoping this is going to do the job for us. We'll have to take it out and try it on the four-wheeler, see if we can get this to pop that clutch off. We've got our clutch tool that we've made. We've got a clutch that needs to be removed. I guess it's time to try it out. A little grease on the end of this so that it slips into the end of the crankshaft nicely. And also the having the grease in there will work a little bit of hydraulic magic as well. Let's give it a little tap and see what happens. That clutch is certainly stuck on there. We've tapped the inside of this tube in a little bit further. It's really hard going. The tube seems to taper down a little bit, and the size of thread that we're cutting is getting too small of a minor diameter. We've got the outer surface is the major diameter, the bottom of the groove is the minor diameter, and the hole is starting to get smaller than the minor diameter, so that we're not able to easily cut. And the last thing we want to do is break that tap off inside that hole, because if we did, we're done. We basically have to take this thing off with a hacksaw or an angle grinder. We don't want to do that. But we did manage to get probably half a turn more out of this. We appear to be bottoming out in the hole, but I don't know if we've got enough pressure on there to do the job or not. But let's give it a couple of whumps here with the hammer and see if this thing will pop off of here. Well, try number 3. From what we originally did, this bar here is cut down substantially. I've shaved a little bit off of the threads here so that it engages with the starting threads on our big tap a little bit better. Ideally, we'd want that full depth threads, but we're working with kind of making things up as we go along here. Give it a little shot of grease on the tip. The threads are still fairly greasy in there. We've got to be close. And Essentially, we've stuck a rod in there to measure. Essentially, the shoulder that's on the puller right here is the, when it reaches the end of the clutch, we know we're completely bottomed out. And that's where we are right now. So let's give it one more try. We're going to be stubborn. We want one more go at this. Grease on the end. Grease on the threads. And we got the not messing around impact gun. That didn't work so well. I think we'll call that totally hooped. Again, we got a fail. I think we're going to call this one a fail for today. Unfortunately, this was a good design if we could have figured a way to get that sucker off of there. Before we go, if you guys have any ideas on how we can get this stupid clutch off of here, please leave a comment. This has really got us stymied. This should have worked. There's no reason that this shouldn't work. We're pushing the crankshaft here. We're pulling on the clutch here. With a good sharp rap with a hammer, this should have popped off of there. Anyways, any advice would be appreciated. Well, I think we're going to end this one here. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch the videos. And if you got this far, give me a like, subscribe, leave me a comment, maybe ring that bell icon. And hey, we've got some merch available. I'll put a link in the description. Thanks a lot for stopping by.